We are here to discuss how can we solve the race problem, which is racism, white supremacy. That is a problem we have decided to dedicate some time to solve. And I'd like to thank the guests for joining us. And yeah, if you would like to just to give like a brief introduction as to your name, why you're here, um, that would be great, and we could get started.
Absolutely. I guess I'll jump in. My name's Stephen Singleton. I am a Los Angeles native, and I'm happy to be on this. This is great, and happy to talk about subject matter. It's very important to cover. Anything else you'd like me to tell about myself?
Oh, that was fine. Miss Lilia?
Hey, I'm Lilia, and I got my husband Caden with me. And I'm here to discuss and learn and grow, and here because you invited me and I wanted to be here to support. So I'm here.
Oh, awesome. So we have 3 guests so far. Okay, so the first question that must be asked for all the guests to answer is, are you a white person?
I am a white person.
Thank you.
I'm white, and Caden is white too.
Okay, so I have some things I want to discuss after maybe some other folks ask some questions. So yeah, Miss Helen, please go ahead.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, SKO, that's what you want to be called?
Stephen's fine.
Okay, Stephen.
Hello.
Hello. What does it mean to be white?
What does it mean to be white? It means that my parents are white and that I have had the fortune of, not being typically racially profiled in a negative way, I suppose. I don't know. What else would you like me to say? I'm sorry, I don't know how you'd like me to answer.
All we're looking for is concise, honest answers.
What does it mean? It means that I've definitely had the ability to not be racially profiled negatively in a lot of ways. A lot of things that I have, I remain very naive to, and like Lilia, I'm here to learn a bit more about the other sides.
Thank you for answering. Mrs. and Misters, or would you like to answer?
Caden's kind of just listening. He's really shy, especially since this is live on YouTube, but he's here and he's listening. The question is, what does it mean to be white? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this question this past week, and some of the other questions I was asked last week too. And like some of the things you guys said really stood out to me. Like I'm not really white in the sense of it, of like a piece of paper, a piece of lined paper is white, but I'm white in the sense that I have certain like privileges imbued upon me because of the color of my skin that I was just kind of born into. I was born into this like society of racism and white supremacy. And I happened to be born on, with white skin. So to be white to me is kind of like I'm ashamed of a lot of the things my ancestors have done, and I'm ashamed of some of the things that other white people are doing. And so I think with being white, there comes a lot of like responsibility to try to undo and make up for a lot of the atrocities that have happened. So what does it mean to be white? I think it's just, there's like privilege and responsibility there.
Thank you for your answer. Ms. Kim, we would like for you to also answer the question, but first I have to ask you, are you a white person, Ms. Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, Ms. Kim, would you like to, can you answer the question, what does it mean to be white?
Of course. Now I'm going to have to disagree with what is it Lillian? Nobody should be ashamed of who they are, sweetie. Nobody should be ashamed of who they are. And that's just what I think. I do have to apologize for the children in the background, guys. I'm sorry. What it means to be white to me is watching what my culture has done to other cultures. It hurts. It really, really hurts me to see the hatred for no reason at all that that the white people portray towards non-white people. That hurts me. It hurts my heart to know that when I look at what is happening in this world today, and I see this day, you know, the whole issues of what's going on with the police officers, you know, and if we just kind of throw out the fact and just throw away the fact, because it's not just police officers that are doing this. My people, yes, they're police officers, but they're also white people who don't even have that kind of authority that are doing it. And so to me, being white means like I said, I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed of being me. But what I am ashamed of is that my culture, of the white culture, has made it okay for this to happen. And I know that Christine and I have talked about this before. We have talked on this, and I really believe, because I had somebody ask me, what is it to be white in America?
Wait, can we keep it focused on what does it mean to be white, and let's try to keep our answers very, very concise, because me personally, I'm not very bright. I'm really slow. It's hard for me to retain a lot of information. So can you please try to make it so like a 7-year-old could understand? I'm not the brightest, as I said.
Oh, I'm sure you're fine.
That goes for me too. I'm heavily retarded.
Okay, since we're gonna break it down to like as simple as possible. To me, being white means that I have privilege that other people don't. Now, what I mean by privilege is I can get away with things that other people wouldn't. Although that's not the way it should be. Does it make it right? Nope, it doesn't. Doesn't make it right, but that's what it means. That's pretty much all I can say, really, to be honest. Because now I don't know if this is going to be a simple answer for you. I'm trying here, you guys. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And am I allowed to use examples? Is that okay?
If they're concise.
Of course. Cop pulls over a white person. You can guarantee that a white person will get just a slap on the wrist or a warning.
Do you have
a person that a non-white person probably wouldn't get it that easy, or wouldn't get it that easy. Let me rephrase that. Wouldn't get it as easy as a slap on the wrist and a right and a warning. And it's sad. You guys, let me jump to a different room, guys. Hold on.
0526.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask Kim a few questions? I think y'all need a little background on Kim, and I know she's willing to tell you when she returns.
Absolutely, absolutely, okay. Christine, of course.
Okay, all right, Kim. Thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Why don't you share with the audience your background, being a white woman, right? And your children. Make sure they understand about your children, because we have non-white people in the group, and they might want to. Okay. That's all I wanted to ask. Go ahead.
No, I don't mind sharing at all. My children are non-white. They are non-white. I don't know my children. I can share that too. I have no problem with that. If that's something that'll help you guys out a little bit. My children are biracial children of white and non-white, which and non-white could mean a whole different, different thing. They are of white and of black. So they're half white, half black. And I know, Christine, you don't like that whole, you've told me that before, but I just said it that way because non-white could mean a whole bunch of different kinds of ethnic backgrounds. So I just wanted to put that out there as what they were. So I am a white woman who is a mother of half Black and half white children.
Okay, Kim, we understand that anybody that's not classified as white is considered non-white.
Right. I agree. Yep, of course.
Thank you.
Miss Helen, I see you have a hand raised.
Hello, Kim. What does it say on the kid's birth certificate under race?
You know, I actually have their birth certificates, and here in the state of South Dakota, they do not, if I can remember, I'd have to run out to my car to get the birth certificate, but it does not classify a race. South Dakota, Black kids in South Dakota. But they do, the only thing they have is their names, my name as their mother, their father's name, their date of birth, and the county that they live in. It does not classify a race.
So I don't want to stay too much focused on you only, Miss Kim, but since you brought it up, when your family members refer to your offspring, do they see them as white or non-white?
Like their grandparents? They don't see them either way. They see them as their grandchildren. I don't know if that's answering your question, my dear, but they have never voiced their opinion either way.
Definitely an answer. All right, so you said something really interesting in the beginning of your answer. You used the word hate, which brought a question to mind for the entire panel, white panel. Is this system of racism, white supremacy, is this system of mistreatment, is it in place because white people hate non-white people? Because you used the word hate, and question came to mind.
I'm not quite sure that I am following that question. If you could just repeat that one more time for me.
No problem. Is the system, first of all, I'd like to get the guests to whether or not they can agree that we are living in a system of racism and white supremacy. The definition on the screen, the direct or indirect subjugation of all non-white people by white people for the basic purpose of pleasing and or serving any or all white persons at all times in all places in all areas of people activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Can we agree that this is a system that we are all currently living in? Can I get a yes or no answer, please?
Of course, it is. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm gonna rephrase the other question I asked about hate. And this isn't about emotions. I just thought you said something really interesting and then just brought the question to mind. Is the system in place because white people hate non-white people?
I think before saying it's about hatred, I personally think it's a system that was made by white men that thought about their personal needs and desires and wants long before anybody else's. So you have these guys come in and create a country, you know, separating from Britain and all, with laws and intentions in mind of keeping their position safe and in stake, and secondarily thinking of other people, you know, secondly. It's not a matter of I do think it is certainly a matter for a lot of people of pushing others down and thinking that their place is behind their own in line. And unfortunately, that is something that is certainly dragged through the structure of the system that we live in today. It's just kind of embedded in the foundation of this country. And that structure, unfortunately, you've heard the saying where it's like, everything's kind of based off its foundation, and its foundation was written with certain people's mindsets and intentions in mind. And it's something that has definitely lived throughout the ages, and it's a fucking curse, It's something that needs to be broken, and ways to do that are incredibly hard to do. And I want to help see that procedure through. And, that's my personal concept in mind. I do think that it's definitely serving white people far better than anybody else in this system, and it's not okay.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I really am. I also think it's like I'm going to piggyback off what he said on that, is a lot of, and I don't know where everybody is located in this country or in the state, in the United States. I can only tell you about my state, and Christine knows, she knows where I'm from. But I think that it's a lot of we have a lot of followers and not enough people that'll go and beyond and be leaders. And what I mean by that is, we have a lot of people that see how other people act towards non-white people. I know, that's pretty. They see how other people are acting and how other people are doing things. And instead of making up their own minds and saying it's not right, or this isn't right, this shouldn't be, and having their own brain to use and setting their own mindset, they follow after what they see. And that means that, for example, if a child goes and jumps off a monkey bar and a kid sees them do it, instead of saying that's probably not the safest thing to do, they follow right and do the same thing. And I really believe that this country has a lot of followers and not enough leaders.
Lilia, would you like to answer?
To try and keep my answer concise, I'm going to say I don't think it's about hatred. I think that it's about we inherited this system from our ancestors, and it serves us in the sense that it helps, like, we continue to reap the benefits from it, so we don't see the problems of it because we're not experiencing the problems of it. And I don't think it's about hatred for most people, although I do believe that some people do hate others. But I think the system is just founded, we just inherited the system, and that's where we're at today.
Thank you. I also don't think it's about hate. Ms. Helen, would you like to ask another question?
Hello, this is for the three. At what age did you learn about racism, white supremacy?
I can go ahead and answer that first if you don't mind. I learned it as a teenager, sitting at the table with my grandmother, who grew up in that era of the segregation and everything. And sitting at the table, she found out that I was interested in a non-white man. And she made some comments that were very not shocking, because I knew where she was growing up, but the comments she made me look at her in a different light. She made comments that she was not worried about me and him. She was worried about the children and how my children would grow up. I was a teenager, you guys. I wasn't even thinking about having children with this person. And she said, these were her exact words: if you have children with this person, your children will not be accepted by the white race, and your children will not be accepted by the black race. And I looked at her in shock. So at a young age, at about 15 is when I was introduced to it.
It's really hard to pinpoint an exact moment, because I don't know, it's coming back to me and being a kind of naive person. And there's definitely points, like I can say I've been introduced to it probably through cinema the first, just seeing it clearly through R-rated movies, and like my family, just me being a third child, not really having a filter for what I was able to and not be able to watch. And
what can you give some titles, some rated R titles that you were consuming that you were able to see as racist?
First thing, I mean, it's in my picture partially. It's like I have Sam Jackson from Pulp Fiction as Jules, and the whole thing with Wallace, and him getting fucked over in that basement scene was probably like the most notable first moment of racism that I hadn't seen firsthand in like an actual life experience. Something that didn't seem as a racist sort of thing that was probably my true first experience is had a friend, Sydney, growing up. When he first came into the school that I was going to, which was my first year transferred into, was in second grade in Kenter Canyon. He wanted to be called Wellington because he thought of it as more formal, and it was a name that wasn't, his first. And he, I don't know, felt like he fit more into the white crowd with that name. So that was just kind of a sort of concealment that was, shouldn't be necessary, but he felt was necessary, and that was probably an actual, like a soft introduction to it, but didn't really kind of consider it until we got more into our middle school years.
Well, that's really interesting. It seems like you were able to distinguish the mistreatment by as early as second grade. I don't know how old second graders are, but it seems
he's a very smart guy. I mean, even as little kids, I don't know if you remember Sidney Stovall from high school. He's a smart guy, and I don't know why a second grader would have to feel this way with concealment and stuff. But he was probably my first introduction to it, and I didn't really get it until later on, and he had to go more into description. But
Miss Lilia?
My question is for Kim. Kim.
Wait. I don't know if Lilia got the answer.
Oh, let Lilia go, and then I can go.
I learned about racism, white supremacy as a child. I would say in my elementary school years, where the school would put on events for Martin Luther King Jr. Day about Black History Month, and they would educate us about like the wrongness of the KKK and things like that. And that's where I learned about racism. I experienced some racism like growing up, but I'm not like recalling specific instances off the top of my head. So I'll just try and leave it concise at that.
Yeah, the best answers are those pulled from lived examples. Thank you for answering those questions. Ms. Williams?
Kim, I understood that you were saying that your grandmother, when you were a teenager, was sitting you down and talking to you about the pros and cons about having a relationship with a non-white person, correct?
Kim? I don't know that it was the pros and cons. Well, I guess you could say it was the pros and cons. Yeah, it wasn't really. It obviously was definitely not the pros. I could tell you that. She could find every, rest your soul, Grandma. I love you with all my heart. But she, like I said, she grew up in the era of all of that stuff that went on with the segregation and the white only bathrooms and the black only bathrooms. And that's what she knew. So
exactly. But what I wanted to ask was, you knowing what the grandmother told you about the hardships that you could encounter if you did that, you chose to do it anyway. Why?
Because the way I see things, Christine, is, and this is just my personal belief as a white person, is that love sees no color. I do not believe that if you say you love somebody and that you truly, truly have a deep love for that person, that it shouldn't matter what the outside looks like.
Okay, but you are aware that racism does see color. Yes or no?
Of course, I do see that, but at the same time, I do believe that not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way.
Look, this is no personal attack against you. I'm just trying.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm not. No,
I just want you to know that, right?
No,
because we're just trying to get answers to questions that we have, and that was just something that, as a non-white person, I was just interested to know, why would a white person do that? Because I've never had a chance to ask one.
No, you're absolutely fine, Christine. No, I get it. And for me personally, I'm gonna just say it for me personally, because I can't speak for the other people on the panel. But for me personally, I look at the people for, and this is I'm not sure that this is gonna ruffle a feather or two, but I look at the people's character and who they are. And I told you this before, Christine, I look at people on how they're going to treat me as a person. Are you going to disrespect me? Are you going to treat me disrespectfully? Because I can guarantee you, disrespect doesn't see color, because you can be a white person, you can be a non-white person, you can, and I've seen it in all kinds of different races, where if you're going to just be a plain out jerk and just be mean and nasty, I really don't believe that it's really a race thing. If that's your character and that's how you are, for whatever reason, whether you grew up that way or whether you just kind of decided one day you woke up and said, I just want to be a jerk today to whoever comes in my path. I don't really honestly believe, now this is my opinion, that has to do with race. Yes, I will say that there are people out there that do hate people because of the color of their skin. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of people that are like that. But then there just are some people that are just downright jerks. And I've had people that I come across that are white people non-white people of, you know, all kinds of different backgrounds, that if they're just going to be a jerk, they're just going to be a jerk.
Okay. Okay. So thanks for that response. But one more question. Okay. So by you having non-white children, how does that affect your children, or do they ever talk about how they feel, or are they harassed because of that, or any of those things?
Well, my daughter is still too little to really grasp this kind of a concept. She's only almost 3, so she really doesn't have the whole concept of what it is. But I do have my 12-year-old son, and he has experienced it. I don't know if I'm allowed to share.
Yeah, you can share that. We would like to know. What is he expressing to you about people?
There's actually 2 instances, but to keep it concise, I'm only going to share one. And it's kind of like, which one do I share? But in 1st grade, my son is kind of likes to play by himself, and he's not really an outgoing kind of kid. And in 1st grade, there was a kid on the playground who was white that came up to him and said he needed to take a bath because he was dirty, because his skin was brown.
Oh my God.
Oh, but you know, this mama bear didn't play with that. I don't know, Christine, you want me to tell the background of what mama bear went and did?
The short version, Kim.
I went into that. I know, because Christine heard it already and she was probably thinking, hurry it up. But I went in and I confronted that mother. In a nutshell, I confronted that mother in front of that principal. And I told her, if my son comes to me again and this is still an issue, I'm coming for you. And she looked at me, she goes, well, I don't teach. You know how the white people get that little uppity attitude? I don't teach my child to be that way. I said, well, they weren't born to learn that. So somebody in your household had to have said something derogatory or said something in earshot of your child for them to think it's okay to be that way. Don't let me hear it again.
Okay, so that was when your son was 1. You have any other things you might want to share about him being older, experiencing any type of racism?
You know, as he has gotten older, he really has not expressed to me any other occurrences. Not to say that there haven't been any, but he has not really expressed any to me that I've been aware of. And I'm a hands-on mom, so I'll ask him, hey, how's your day? Anything happen? Anything you want to share with me, son? And he's like, no, everything's fine, Mom. So
Okay, so yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But one more quick question.
Sure.
One more quick question, because I'm gonna let you get out. We grilling you too much.
No, you're not grilling. You guys are fine. I kind of, when I knew about I was going to be on this, I was kind of expecting it anyway. So no big deal. No big deal.
Okay, one more question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so where is the non-white father? Is he in the lives of the children, or what?
I'm going to be honest. Sorry. There are 2. My daughter and my son have different dads. My son's dad, yes, constantly. Well, he lives in a different state, but is always constantly calling, always constantly text messaging him, asking him how his day is, how's his schoolwork, is he keeping his grades up, and he pays child support. Not that, you know, I don't know if that's a real big deal, but he's doing the best he can with being in a different state. So, and it's funny you should ask this question just recently, because yeah, now my daughter's father is a whole different ball of wax. I don't want to say deadbeat. I don't like that word. I can't, that classification is just ugh, to me. Now my daughter's dad, she's going on 3, and he has not made any effort to see her since her birth, except for yesterday when we ran into him in Walmart, and that was his first encounter with his daughter. My daughter's reaction was she was excited, she was happy, and she kept telling everybody, I met my dad today. I met my dad today. I love him so much. But she's 3, so that's the innocence in her. She doesn't know any better. The encounter with him was he wanted me to drop child support. He gave me all kinds of excuses as to why I should drop my child support. And I told him I'll have to think about it. Have to think about that one.
So did you drop it, yes or no?
No, I have not.
Okay, I mute my mic, Kim. Thanks so much for all your responses. I appreciate it.
Can I also ask you a question, Kim? I'm just curious, did the school or the principal do any sort of follow-up with that statement the kid said to your child?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because
wait, can you do a yes or no answer? A yes or no answer?
See, that's been so long ago that was like 1st grade. So he's in 7th grade now. So that was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. She said she was going to, but as far as whether they did or not, I'm not sure. I think bringing in the confrontation in the principal's office was probably as far as it went.
Thank you. Miss Helen and then Kwaku.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this question is for Lilia. Did I hear you correctly? Did you say you experienced racism?
I've witnessed it. If I said I experienced it, I didn't mean it as in I experienced it against myself.
You witnessed it how?
Like, I've seen others be racist.
When you say others, are they white or non-white?
White people being racist.
Okay. Can you share the what you witnessed?
For example, I went to the store to pick up something with my Black neighbor, and we were at the store shopping, and I got something that was more inexpensive than she did. She got something like really valuable or whatever. No, mine. Wait, hold on. Let me recall. My item was more valuable than her item, and she got stopped and like told to go buy that at the front. Like they would put that at the front for her to buy, whereas I was allowed to carry my item around in the store with me, even though my item was more expensive than hers.
Kwaku.
Thank you for your honest answers to our guest. So I wanted to clarify, to the guest, do you believe that white supremacy is global? Is a global system? So meaning not only in the United States?
Yeah, it's a worldwide issue.
Yes, I do think it spreads very much so, like with the whole like colonization and situation. I don't think it hits, Eastern Asia very much, but it does hit India. It does go down into Morocco and South Africa, certainly into both Americas. It hits pretty much all continents. And I'm sure it does have its influence also on trade routes in like old days and how it's affected Eastern culture development as well. Maybe not as directly though, but yes.
Kim?
I do believe so. I believe that it's not just in the United States. I believe that it is everywhere. Are we allowed to give examples if we have them? Short ones?
Yeah, if they're, as long as they're concise.
The whole issue with what happened in the UK with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And the interview that they gave, because Meghan Markle is a non-white person, and the way that the British royalty treated her.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question. My follow-up question is, just had it off the top of my head. Do you believe that, so given the definition that we have for white supremacy being the direct or indirect subjugation of all non-white people by white people, do you believe that non-white people are able to practice racism?
Yes,
No.
I do think so. Oh, go for it.
No, I think that non-white people can have prejudice, they can have biases, but they can't be racist.
I believe that they can. Anybody who judges anybody on their skin tone certainly is a matter of race, in my opinion. Even if white people are shitty and have the upper hand.
Now, I guess my question would be towards white people. Are you asking, are non-white people racist towards white people? Is that the question?
The question is, are non-white people able to practice racism? So I guess, yes.
So since we're giving an honest answer, yes, I do believe so.
Okay. For Stephen and Kim, can you tell, Stephen, you kind of said it a little bit, but if you could elaborate, and Kim, why do you believe non-white people are able to practice racism?
I think a really good example is the Hutu and Tutsi in Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
Mass genocide against a group of people of a different skin tone is a pretty prime example for me, and thinking that that is certainly a case of racism. It was based off skin tone. They were labeled different, basically factions of people, and that led to a genocide, which is horrible.
So I would say that's an example of just victims of racism being directly or indirectly trained or driven to kill each other, because that's how racism and white supremacy trains us to produce scenarios like that. But given this definition we have here on the screen, which you all have agreed to, how can non-white people practice racism if we're applying this definition to the word racism and white supremacy?
I don't see the definition.
The direct.
Yeah, it's a definition I read earlier and we all agreed on that exists.
Maybe you need to read it again for them.
Here, I'm going through the second part of it right now. The only functional racism in existence among the people of the known universe is based on the color and or anti-color of the physical makeup or physical appearance of a person, which I agree with. Racism for the sake of racism. I agree with that first one, the direct or indirect subjugation of all non-white people by white people. So this is all, I agree with that. Like what this, the first one applies with white supremacy. I totally agree that is the case. And that the second and third don't really depict specifically as a matter of just specifically white people doing that. This is definitely white supremacy. I agree with that. I do think racism is something that everybody is functionally capable of. Yeah.
So a question would be, if non-white people are able to practice racism, can you give me an example of somewhere on the planet where non-white people are subjugating white people?
Absolutely cannot. As far as like a wide scale systematic thing, I totally cannot. On an individual level, absolutely.
Kim?
This may not be what you are looking for. Hey, stop. Shush. But let's take, for example, last year. And the issue with Minnesota. And the people that were out in the streets and they were destroying people's businesses because of their anger. And because they were saying, they were, that's my opinion. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but they were destroying people's property. They were destroying people's businesses and livelihoods. And to me, and from what I know, some of those businesses were owned by white people. They were owned by white people. Not all of them, but some of them. And so that's just the way I see it.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't understand. My thing is I don't understand why we just pin it as white people are the only people that can be racist.
Well,
okay,
can I ask a question?
Yeah, you're next up, Dr. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. I'll wait till quickly finishes.
Okay, thank you. So Kim, you're saying that is an example in which non-white people were subjugating, which means the action of bringing someone or something under domination or control. That is what, that's an example of non-white people subjugating white people. That's the questions for Kim.
I wouldn't say that they were subjugating them per se, but I do believe that I think there were possible agendas behind it. And I hope you guys don't take this and say, whatever, but when we go, and when we look at it, I don't think they did subjugate the white people that own businesses to a certain extent. I'm going to say that. They subjugated the white people to have to start all over again with businesses that should have never been destroyed. I understand the whole anger part of the whole thing, and I get that 100%, that they were angry, that they were pissed off. I understand that. But there are other ways besides destroying businesses that it can be taken care of. So did they subjugate these people? Yes, they did. They subjugated these people by destroying their businesses, so that now they have to wonder where their income is coming from. How are they going to provide for their families?
And
That's the question. Super duper interesting.
Dr. Thank
Yes, I had questions for everyone else, but real quick, based on what Kim just said, Kim, I'd like to know what was your source of information for the non-white people destroying the white businesses in Minnesota?
What do you mean by what? Where I got my information?
Yes. How did you get that information?
From people that I know that live there. From people that I know that are actually in the heart of Minnesota, that were every day seeing what was going on.
Okay.
I have a lot of people that I know in Minnesota that would tell me what would be going on. Kim, this is awful. This is terrible. And giving me descriptions of what was going on.
I got it, Kim. I got it. From people in Minnesota. Were those people in Minnesota white people?
No, not all of them.
Okay. Did you happen to see anything on the news about that on your own?
From time to time I would look, but I wouldn't make it a priority to watch it constantly.
At any time that you looked, did the people that you saw riding, were they all non-white? Or did you see any white people in the crowd?
Yes, I did see white people in the crowd.
Okay. So would you then say that white people were participating in the rioting?
I wouldn't say they weren't, because it was probably an easy way for them to, you know, I don't think they were participating in it in the right frame of mind.
Okay. Thank you. On that question, so now my next question is, well, I have, okay, this is for Kim too, real quick. What made you choose to have children with a non-white male?
What made me say that again? I'm sorry.
What made you choose to have children with a non-white male?
I can't say that I chose it. I dated their fathers, and I can't answer that because I honestly cannot say that I know how to answer that. That's a question that making me seem like I don't know. I cannot answer that question for you because I don't have an answer.
Okay.
That's the honest to goodness truth. I don't have an answer for that question.
Okay. My next question for you, and then I have questions for everyone else, including you. But my next question for you is, what made you attracted to Black males?
What made me attracted to them is
yes,
the way they carry themselves. They don't put up with BS. They carry themselves in a manner where they do not. Is it okay to cuss on here or no? I mean, I'm just asking. This is my first time doing it. But they don't take crap. They don't take crap from anybody, and that's the kind of person that I'm attracted to. Is someone that can stand up and say, you know, and be a man's man, if you would. Somebody that's not going to back down when somebody says something that is so far out of there that, you know, that's why I chose the non-white men that I did, because they were no nonsense and their personality matched mine because I'm no nonsense.
I can 100% confirm, as a white man, I am complete nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. So now my next question is, were any of you told how to behave around non-white people by white people who were your elders when you were children?
No, not at all.
No, not directly.
My parents told me to be careful around Black people, for example, because they stereotyped Black people as thieves. And so my parents did, yes.
Okay, and what all did they tell you? Besides, did they tell you anything else besides being thieves?
Like they just told me to be careful around Black people and not to trust them. And they told me all kinds of stuff. Like when I was in kindergarten, they told me that Black people were evil and not to be trusted.
Jesus Christ. Sorry.
And yeah, when I was in kindergarten, they told me this, and because I didn't meet my first Black person until I was in kindergarten. And when I did, I was terrified of them because all the things that my parents had told me. And when I got approached by a Black person on the playground, I was like, I can't hang out with you. You guys are evil. My parents said so. And I ran away. Like that happened when I was just 5 years old because of things my parents told me.
Thank you for your honesty. My next question is, have any of you ever been challenged by another white person? Well, have any of you ever been challenged on being a white person by another white person?
What do you mean?
I have.
Okay.
Oh yes, I have.
Mm-hmm. My uncle, well, when my uncle would call like my sister, well, it wasn't like me, but because but like my uncle would call like my sister an N-word lover, and she might as well just be an N-word herself if she's gonna bring home people like that. Like my uncle was like that to my sister, but not like to me directly.
Okay. Kim?
I have been, and I don't know if this is actually going to answer the question, but I have been challenged by other white people of my whiteness per se, because of the fact that I have non-white children, and have specifically been called derogatory names because I have non-white children from other white people. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I don't know if that's answering the question, but.
So when they challenged you, did they ask you like something about your background?
No. No. Mm-mm. No. They pretty much said that it was that I should be ashamed of myself because I have non-white children. That I should have stayed in my own race, and that I shouldn't have had children from a non-white person. Of course, we're using words that they didn't specifically say, so I'm just kind of trying to keep it the way we're supposed to. But they did challenge me and asked me what was I thinking, and they weren't very nice about it either, at all.
Okay. And the white man that's on the phone, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Stephen.
Stephen.
Yeah.
So did you, my question was, have you as a white person ever challenged you about your whiteness? Have they ever challenged you? Like they looked at you and said, no, you're not white. Something along those lines?
No, I'm a pretty white dude with kind of a tomato face. I mean, if that was ever the case, it was maybe in high school, and I never took offense to it because I don't think it was placed on me in an offensive way. Honestly, there's never been a moment where I have felt offended by somebody to referring to me in that sense. Like you know, like say if they were referring that I had traits of a Black person, traits of a Hispanic person, traits of an Asian person, I, you know, like maybe it could have been like, in a sense, HR reportable in a workplace, but in all mannerisms, I think it was more of a matter of playfulness in terms of endearment. I haven't had anything personally to me seemingly offensively said. So no, I haven't had that experience.
Well, I'm just asking you if they challenged you, not if they offended you. What was said?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I was on a football team and there were a lot of Black fellow teammates on the team, and pretty sure like somebody was fucking around with me and said something in the matter of like, are you sure you're white? Or like, I don't know, like something like, I'm not going to say no, because I'm pretty sure it has happened. If it hasn't happened to you, you clearly don't remember, or you're lying straight up. I just personally, you know, haven't had a traumatic experience with it enough for me to recollect it, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sure it has happened to me. But it never in a sense that, you know, it seemed like it was being offensively used against me. That's my experience. I wish I could answer more specifically. Like, I'm trying to think and dig right now. Like,
I just want to make it clear to all of you that, and I just based on what I'm suspecting we all need, it's just the facts.
Yeah.
We're looking for logic. We're not looking for emotion. We're not looking for, you know, any emotional reactions based on what someone said or did to you, or any, we're not expecting to be emotionally aroused by the words that you use.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get the facts.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah.
May I ask a few questions?
Please do say
to the guest.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. Steven or Miss Lily or Kim, feel free to answer. Don't mind who answers first, but have you ever witnessed a white person mistreating a non-person? And if so, what happened?
Yes, I have.
Please share.
I was at a gas station, and I was coming out from the gas station, and there was a non-white person sitting on a bike, and it looked like he had fallen asleep or whatever he was doing. And the manager decided to watch him from the window. And so I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to play this out and see what happens. And so he watched him for about a good 10, maybe 15 minutes. And then about after the 10 or 15 minutes, he comes outside and he approaches him. And because I live in a small town, the parking lots in our areas aren't very big, so you can hear everybody's talking and conversation. And he said, look, man, you got to go. And the gentleman said, I am just waiting for my ride. He said, you have a bike, just get out, just go, just get out of here. And so he went back inside and stood at that window for another good 10 to 15 minutes, watching him until he left. But before he left, he came out a second time. Now, I know you guys don't know me, but I'm not going to just sit there and let something happen like that. So I voiced my opinion, and I told him, instead of griping and bitching and telling him to leave, don't you think you might want to ask him if he's all right? Is there something you can do for him instead of making yourself look bad in front of this parking lot and the patrons? So he went back over there and asked him, do you need anything? Are you all right? But I just shook my head because it shouldn't have been me that made him go back over there to say something.
She keeps in the back.
Okay, thanks for answering the question. My follow-up question is, have you ever indirectly or directly mistreated a non-white person? Kim?
Oh, I'm thinking. I don't know. No, no.
While she's thinking, Mr. Steven, Ms. Lilia, would you like to answer the first part of the question?
Lily, if you want to go first, you can go for it. I have one ready to go. You're not ready.
I'm still thinking about an answer for myself because while I'm sure I have witnessed it, I'm not recalling like a specific example.
I have one from a couple months back, maybe a month back. I was meeting with a friend, Lyle, to go to Kenneth Hahn Park, and we were going to play disc golf, which is just like golf frisbees. And so we go and we're playing. We eventually get to a certain like hole where we're supposed to like start throwing, the discs. And there was a group ahead of us, and they weren't throwing because there were two mothers with their two children hanging out and playing around one of the spots, just where you're supposed to like, start the hole. So some of these guys, they're all white guys, like, I don't know, 20 something. And they're just like, hey, can you move? Can you get off the spot? This is where we're supposed to throw. And the women said, no, we're occupying the space. We're not going to. And they're like, well, you have to. This is where we're supposed to throw. And they say, can't you just throw from, the side? And they're like, this is the place where we're supposed to throw. One of them goes further and escalates it and starts essentially yelling at them. The women say, like, if you keep doing this, we're going to get our husbands in here and they're going to kick your ass. And the guy says, yeah, I bet they're not even around for your children. Like, try and do that. They're not going to show up. And that was that experience. At that point, friend and myself and my friend Lyle walk up. There are two other passerbyers that overheard that. We got involved. They got involved. We just kind of tried to de-escalate the moment and tell those people, go around them. One guy really took charge. He was like driving this little RC car around, and like he was a black man, and he did a really good job of taking hold of this, like de-escalating it. And just said, like, kind of stay to your own parts and just let the woman exercise, and you could throw over there. And we followed him on that. So that was a really unique experience. Just all from what's supposed to be like an enjoyable, like weekend moment at the park. But yeah, that was my moment that I'm recollecting.
0526, I don't mean to cut this short, guys. I am so sorry, but my son has tons of homework he has to get done for tomorrow. So I'm going to have to kind of like 86 myself out of here. But if you guys do this again, I would and we can keep this going, because this is, to me, this has been very interesting. I have loved to hear all of everybody's opinions and how they see things, so that I can, kind of broaden my thoughts a little bit on certain subjects. But it's 7 o'clock here. It's 7 o'clock at night, and he's a dinker. So I got to go ahead and go help him with his homework, guys.
Oh, no problems. Take care. Appreciate your time and energy.
Not a problem, guys. And you guys all stay blessed and have a good day.
Thank you. Good meeting you.
Thanks, Ms. Kim. Thanks for answering the question, Mr. Singleton. I do want to ask if you have directly or indirectly mistreated a non-person, and this could be you're in a group of people and someone's making fun of a non-white person and you're not, you remain silent. So in a way you kind of become complacent in a situation, or have you seen a non-white person being targeted and being made fun of in a classroom, perhaps? Just any situation when you witnessed it and could have said something but didn't. I think the situation at the I guess it was a golf course or some type of Kenneth Hahn. I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah, Kenneth Hahn Park.
No, Kenneth Hahn. But try to think back to a time. Is it possible for you to recall a moment that directly or indirectly mistreated a non-white person?
You know, I'd love to say no, but to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. You know, like, I know I've said stupid shit in the past, and I'm not going to deny that I probably said something stupid that regards somebody's race. Anything in particular, I can't say I know, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure I have. Obviously, it's a stupid thing to do, and I really don't mean to offend anybody, but particular moments in groups, I know that I have certainly not stood up in a moment of time when I went with some friends to an Asian restaurant, and one of the people in this group was certainly doing an offensive Asian accent. And I sat there, I didn't do anything. Other friends, Alex and Sydney, didn't stop this person as well. We sat awkwardly, and he was clearly being offensive, and none of us did anything about it. We were uncomfortable with the moment, but we didn't stand up and do anything about it.
Thanks so much for being honest. Keep in mind, it's like I'm a bit lagged. It's 2 a.m. over here. I live in London. Lilia, I would love to hear your response to the question.
Yes, hello. When I was in high school, I had two best friends. One of them was white and one of them was black. And I used to tell my black best friend that she acted pretty white for a black girl. And like looking back at that, like I later apologized, like later in life, I apologized to her for saying that, because it just weighed heavily on my heart that I would bring that up to her. Like what does it mean to act white, or what does it mean to act black? Like, what does that even mean? But like, I don't know, that there was some like microaggressions that I am responsible for in my past that I've tried to make up for. And basically I had a pretty shitty upbringing, and I'm trying to unlearn some of the things that was instilled upon me. But yeah.
Could you perhaps give an example of some of the things that you're mentioning? You said you had a lot of things were instilled into you, such as?
Well, like earlier I shared the story of my first encounter with a black person. When I was when growing up, my parents never, like, I didn't go to preschool, so between birth and kindergarten, my parents would tell me stories about being careful around black people, and I had never seen a black person before that I could, like, up close anyways, like be careful around black people, they're evil, they're dangerous, they're this or that. And I remember when I first met a black girl, I was a child too, in kindergarten, I said to her that I couldn't be around her because she's evil, and I ran away. So that's an example of when I was 5 years old. I did that.
And in the place where you were living at the time, is it safe to suspect that other white people were having similar conversations with their children? Or do you know
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My parents kept us pretty isolated from most families, so I was pretty. I was abused pretty heavily as a child too, so I had a pretty shitty upbringing. My mom raised us on her social security check, and my dad was a violent person, and it wasn't pretty growing up.
Understood. Thanks for sharing. I think those are my questions for now. Thanks everyone for sharing.
Miss Helen.
Thank you.
I would like for it to go in this order. First Lilia and then Steve. What's your favorite 3 to 5 movies?
My favorite 3 to 5 movies are Inception, Arrival, and Ex Machina.
The Matrix is definitely in there. Memento is a good one, and I don't know. I like Mary Poppins.
Which film?
Mary Poppins, The Matrix, and Memento.
I was thinking like the old Mary Poppins, the newer one.
Oh, the older one. Just the one with Julie Andrews. The new one's good too. I like it.
Okay. Can you all share a racist joke you've heard, that you've heard from another white person, a racist joke?
I can, but I choose not to. That does not sound fun.
Well, no, we don't care how vulgar or incorrect it is. It's just we're just here to get information, and
I understand that, but I personally do not feel comfortable reiterating that personally. That's just would not sound great. It's just personally, like, I don't want to say stuff like that.
No worries. Understood. Olivia, would you care to?
Yeah, I answered this question last week, but the joke that came to mind is there's a white man and a black man, and they're arguing over the ethnicity of God. God is white. No, God is black. No, God is white. No, God is black. And they're arguing, and they're in a car, and the white guy's driving, and they're arguing while they're driving to go on their way to dinner, and they get into an accident, and they end up going into heaven, and they're arguing, God is white. No, God is black. No, God is white. Even at the pearly gates, and then God reveals himself to them and says, "Hola, amigos."
Thank you. Ms. Helen, is that an old hand, or did you have another question?
I have another question.
Yes, and then Kwaku, and then Sid, and then I'm gonna get a question in.
Okay. It's kind of rapid fire. I'm gonna list a couple of people, and I want to know what are they, if they're white or non-white. Dave Bautista.
Non-white? I mean, are we supposed to guess or answer the way we think?
You tell me what you think he is, if he's white or non-white. So, okay, Lilia.
Dave Bautista, I've never heard of him, so I would have to guess and say he's white.
He's from Guardian of the Galaxy, the slow one, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Drax. He's Drax.
Yes.
Oh, he's Drex. My husband's saying he's Guatemalan. So he's non-white?
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, he's white.
He's a white guy, yeah.
Chris Herrera. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. It's Heria. Chris. Herrera? Herrera?
I don't know who Chris Herrera
Never heard of him?
Never heard of him.
Okay, Vin Diesel.
Is he Hispanic?
Vin Diesel? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen him. I'm trying to like Vin Diesel. He's white. Isn't he white? Gosh. I am terrible with movies. Like, I hardly ever watch movies, and I'm trying to recall a single Vin Diesel movie I've seen.
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I saw the most recent one in theaters. Was he in that one?
He's like the main character of Fast and
Oh,
Furious.
man, I thought that was The Rock.
What else is he in?
Rock is also way more attractive.
Pitch Black.
Yeah, Riddick.
Triple X.
Oh, I've seen Riddick. I'm gonna say he's white, just cause.
Oh, okay. I'll go. Thank you for your answers. Can you tell me what do you think? Whose responsibility is it to end the system of racism and white supremacy?
Everyone's. I mean, you can't depend on everybody because some people are for it, but you know, fuck those people. Everybody has to show up. You know, it's not. This is a big fight, you know, and it takes every willing soul, and even those who aren't willing, every person that's standing by needs to show up for it.
God, buddy.
Thank you, Stephen. Lilia?
I would say that it is everyone's responsibility to end it, but I would say probably the onus is probably particularly on white people, although good luck getting white people to do that. Like, I want to help do it, but like I don't have a lot of belief or faith in the white people.
I agree with that. I don't have faith in it too much either with like the white masses. I think the biggest thing is just fear, like not to kind of work off of your upbringing, Lilia, but it's just like when you have these blinders on and you don't get exposed in like a light and experience where you get to just genuinely learn about people, who they are, and you don't get to connect with people from other races, you don't get to see like them as a person and them as individuals and how great everybody can be and how shitty other people can be that maybe put blinders on you. It's a really shitty thing. And like when you have isolation from other races, then you can't really get the chance to empathize. And that's an important thing to have. So I think mixing and mingling among all people is a very important step forward, because without it, then you'll never be able to understand the other side. You won't be able to genuinely care enough to do anything about it. So I think that's what needs to be a big part of the works.
Okay, thank you. My next question is.
Wait, one second. I believe we have another white guest. David, are you there? Are you able to participate?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here for like a little bit. I was gonna say to that question, because I am white, I was gonna say like, for there to like, what needs to be done to fix racism? I mean, like, yes, it would be like it would involve everybody.
Hold on. That's not the question.
The question was, whose responsibility is it to end racism, white supremacy?
Okay, yeah, it's everybody's, mostly white people. But because I don't think there's like enough for white people to gain from addressing racism, I don't think it will end.
Thank you for your concise answer. So both my follow-up to that would be all of you kind of said white people. Why do you believe white people, I guess, have the biggest responsibility to end racism?
I guess I can try to go first. I feel like, well, I don't know where it started. I personally feel that, whoever started it, they are responsible for ending it. But I think that you also have to look at like, what majority of people are responsible for are racist, and it's really, I don't know. And I guess it sounds weird. I feel like if there is one group of people that has the power to end racism, it is white people, just because we are the problem. That's it.
Thank you, Stephen. Why do you believe? Well, yes, thank you, David. Stephen.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think? I don't know if you agree. Did you agree that white people have I guess the bigger responsibility?
I haven't thought enough to. I don't think I've spent enough time thinking about that. I would say like innately, yeah, I'd agree with that. Just intuitively, it sounds right, because I feel like, if somebody's kind of wielding the shit stick, you got to expect them to put it down, right? Because like that metaphorical shit stick, it's like that's the thing that wields the power. And I mean, if you're not going to put it down, that means that the other person's going to have to like kind of disarm you of it and to resolve the issue. And I don't think anybody wants to see that in this relatively innocent metaphor become something, more drastic in a reality, but it could possibly be a case. But, like, I think that it is ultimately at least speaking in like the sense of America and its circumstances, for white people to put down that power that they're wielding and kind of have a more like even distribution about it, proceeding forward. And I think that it's going to take fine manicuring of like everybody's support to get to that point, that's what I think. So yeah, primarily I would say that that's in the hands of white people for sure.
Okay, thank you. So my last question, sorry to hog the mic, everybody. Who are the most powerful people on the planet? If you could, I guess, what do they look like? Or who are they?
Putin, Biden, people in the UN, primarily, white nations, white leaders. I think there's some female amongst it, some minorities, but primarily white men. Maybe, I don't know the leader of China, but him as well. Not knowing his name is kind of a sign that might not be as much the case, but that also might just mean I don't have proper knowledge on the material.
Thank you for your honesty. David, would you like to answer the question?
I just agree. I agree with him.
Ooh, throwing this in there too. Just billionaires, those people.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we don't even know who the most powerful people are. They might be like in the shadows.
would you agree that the yes or no answer, please? Would you agree that the most powerful people classify themselves as white?
Yes, for the most part, absolutely.
You know, I would need a list of the most powerful people. I have to look at them. But the few that I would be able to name off the top of my head, yes, they're white. And they would classify themselves as white.
Okay, thank you for the answers. So I suspect that that why we have the system in place is because white people have created it for could be a number of reasons, but I suspect finding out why this system was created, and if it's a reaction to some sort of fear, maybe we may be able to help each other solve the problem. Like, for example, if the system is in place because white people are afraid that they may disappear from the planet because they're a global minority. So I hope these next questions from me personally will hope to shed some insight on why the system is in place and what we can do together to solve the problem. Because if it is white people being afraid of disappearing from the planet, like us non-white people are willing to help you guys preserve your race if that's what's necessary to produce justice. So my question to the guest is what do white people fear the most about the race problem? Being racism, white supremacy, what do white people fear the most in regards to the race problem?
I have an answer, but I don't also mind yielding time to other people who want to answer first. Is Lilia still here?
She had to go, but we still have Mr. David is still.
No, you can go first. Go first.
I'd say I don't think it's a matter of losing population. At least that's not the first thing that comes to mind, because I think the people that particularly have the power to control are white men, and those people that have the power typically have money and the power in itself, and they don't want to lose it. And typically they will find their support and wants and needs met by people of similar upbringing and culture, and that tends to be more white people. So how to uproot that? I don't know. I think that takes like a completely new kind of governmental breakdown that just hasn't come into existence yet. There's no easy way to do that, because I think there's always going to be somebody reaching for the power in the top, and they're going to always kind of find themselves in a position where they want to surround themselves with familiars. I think the best way to do it is, listen, reach out to others, get out of your comfort zone. And in order to do that, sometimes you don't get to take that, nice step forward. And right now, the whole George Floyd thing and shit sucked. But I think it is bringing people together, and it's a step forward. And I think this Chauvin, finding guilty is a good step, but it's just a start. That's not going to resolve unless people continue to work for something. It takes the masses and understanding. I think social media is a double-edged sword that can fill with a bunch of fake news and sources that just kind of fuck you up. I think that.
Wait 1 second. Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, I'm blabbering.
The question was, what do white people fear the most in regards to the race problem?
Losing power.
So okay.
Let's put it simply.
Mr. David?
No, I mean, this is a question that is too familiar. I know that I answered this like twice already. I would agree with him, just losing power. But also I think to really get a grasp of the true answer of that, it just seems like, for me, it's just hard for me to I don't feel that I'm personally not afraid of there being no more white people. Everybody becomes mixed. I mean, I think that's the direction that we're taking, that we're heading in, is everybody's gonna be mixed. I don't give a fuck about that. So I think that for a true answer, you'd have to ask somebody that truly fears about there being no more white people in the world, and what they fear is problematic with that. That's it.
So if it's not, I don't know what it is. I'm just have theories. So what do you all think the fear is? Because the system has to be in place. I understand Mr. Stevens says it's a fear of losing power. But what do you think, David?
I agree. That's what I agree with. I think that there is, like I previously said, there are advantages, that this white privilege that people have that are white, that if everybody were to become equal, white people have something to lose if everybody were to become equal, and then everybody else only has something to gain. And it's kind of it's not fun when you're the only person losing in this in a situation. So it doesn't feel, becoming equal is not going to feel equal, like an equal thing for white people, because we only have things to lose, and then non-whites only have things to gain.
There's this thing in psychology. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think as a white person, you think it's power, and it's just again, it's just kind of an upbringing and social way of understanding things. And so as white people, I could just speak for myself, not dealing with such racial criticism. It seems it's a fight for power and class, but I can't speak for people of minorities that have dealt with hardships and stuff. And that's where race comes into play. Me not dealing with the racial prejudices, I default think, it's class and power and financial position and status. So I can only speak from what I really know. I try to understand other bits and pieces and other people. But to me, it really does come down to people wanting to maintain that. It's just kind of what I see.
Can either of you tell us about the power that you have over us right now?
Are you talking about me on a personal level, or are you talking about white people in general?
Yes, there's two white people right now, and I'm talking about the power that both of you have over us, the non-white people that you're conversating with right now.
The power we have is that you are asking us questions and we can withhold. I mean, but I feel like we're here because we want to tell you about our perspectives. So, I mean, if I wanted to withhold that information, then that's the sort of power I have. But, I choose not to, because that's not why we're here.
I think at this moment, that is pretty accurate, but that is a power that we have. I think generally speaking, if I were to, it is embarrassing where I'm talking about, white privilege, but I guess honestly, I couldn't name a lot of things that I have that are privileged, because I'm not most knowledgeable with that. But I would say is, the one power that I have is maybe being given the benefit of the doubt because of the color of my skin in many situations. I mean, one example would be getting pulled over by law enforcement. Well, because I'm white, they would probably give me the benefit of the doubt, thinking that I am not a threat. And that's the kind of power that I have, where it's a power that I don't have to worry about something and somebody else does.
Sorry, I was thinking literally to the terms of this lobby, but in that manner of speaking, like outside of this, just as walking around on a daily basis, I do agree with that as well.
I wanted to, I've been waiting a minute to ask question. So this question is for Mr. Began and Mr. Singleton. Keep in mind, I'm a bit slow. It's almost 3 a.m. here in London. My question to you is, have you ever been bothered, uncomfortable, or afraid in the presence of non-white people? And this could be because of things you were told, or because of how non-white people are portrayed in Western media, or because of the music that you heard about non-white people. But have you ever been, just bothered while you were in the presence of non-white people?
I have. I wouldn't say it was because of their skin. I would say it's because of mannerisms and yelling. This would be in downtown Los Angeles. I used to date this girl, Izzy. It was off of like 29th and Normandy. And, I'm a white dude in South Central. And there was a group of guys that were sort of yelling in my direction and yelling, making direct eye contact with me and asking what I was doing there. So that did, in fact, make me feel uncomfortable.
Mr. Vegan?
Yes, I would say that is very embarrassing, but it's something I even brought up with my psychologist. And he said that, there are a lot of people that have these same feelings.
Wait, Mr. Vegan, what is the thing that you brought up with your psychologist? I think you're starting a bit ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Wait, is this who I think it is? Mr. How do you know my last name if my name's David here? Okay, I think I know who this is. So, I had a really embarrassing experience one time, and it was just, I'm very embarrassed to talk about it, to the point where I don't even want to talk about it. But yes, to make a long story short, I have felt uncomfortable around people that are non-white. Just because I feel like, because of the color of my skin, there is this innate hatred towards me.
What sort of information do you receive on a regular basis that you believe that there is an innate hatred projected towards you?
Well, it's not just information now, it's history, right? We don't really have many good, stories in history that, tell us of all the great things white people did for non-whites. We've always started treating non-whites like shit, and then allowed those individuals to gain the minimum basic human rights that they lost in the initial encounter. And so I feel, because of this redundancy in these violent acts, not just violent, just violent acts against non-whites, people hold on to things. I'm Jewish, and my history, one thing, for example, would be Jews going through the Holocaust. And there is some feelings that I have that, I feel like German people hate me still. or I feel like I can't buy, or no, not like that. Not like that. I feel like I don't buy, I don't consume or purchase, like I wouldn't consider purchasing any German vehicles because of what has happened in the past.
But thanks so much. I do have one more question. This is for Mr. Singleton and Mr. Vegan. Do you feel as though, because you're a white person, are you or were you heavily indoctrinated to believe and maintain and sustain some forms or either a total form of racist white supremacist ideology via school, media, and music? Were you indoctrinated intentionally to be racist? Do you suspect that you were guided by your family members or peers or people in your schools to be someone who believes that white people are superior and should mistreat or control non-white people?
In a sly way, I do believe so. Not from family, not from friends. I do believe my grandparents have their racial prejudices. They kept pretty clear, I'd say, for the most part, of involving us with that. I just think that's just their old way of thinking and being a part of that whole older system. But in school, you know, history is written by the winners, and I think that, you know, I think that's a bad way to kind of place it with the context, but it's just like, you know, like the white people that have created the nation deem themselves that and have written these guidelines, whether intentionally or not. It's through perspective, it's through a lens that has certainly drawn a way of looking at things and teaching and probably empowering certain figures while demeaning others, and, you know, kind of dimming the light on other prominent members of, you know, history. It took me going out of my own way to like learn more about, like, for example, Harriet Tubman. You know, I don't remember ever going over her in school. Then you hear about a movie because there's movements going on and stuff. Like, what she did is fantastic, you know, opening up ways for like people to have free lives. I did not learn about her in school. That's fantastic. But then you'll learn about someone like Edison who invents a light bulb and like shit like that, you know? That definitely gives power to one and not to the other.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Mr. Vegan, did you want to answer the question too?
David, are you there?
I think he's no longer in the stream.
Well, okay. My cellmate has a question for the guest. She would like to ask.
Hi. I guess it's just one person now. So thanks for taking the questions. It's really been interesting hearing them. So I have a series. It's just like 3 or 4 questions. It's like really simple. You can just answer yes or no, just to gauge the amount of effort or interest you have in ending racism, white supremacy. So my first question is, would you be willing to disown a family member if it produced justice and ended racism, white supremacy?
Yes, unless it is my mother, unless it's my mom.
Okay, so that's a no. Okay.
Well, I would no, that's a yes. I would take my brother out. I'd take my other brother out. I'd take my dad out. I'd take my grandparents, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, nieces, nephews. Not my mom. I love that woman.
Okay, thanks. Next question is, would you be comfortable with reducing compensation or completely losing compensation to produce justice and end racism, white supremacy?
Yes.
Okay, next question. Would you be willing to sacrifice any familial property or inheritance to end racism, white supremacy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question I had was, in the occurrence that there would have to be some sort of violence or war, what side would you fight on to end racism and white supremacy or to keep the system in place? And to what capacity would you fight?
Yes. Sorry. What side would I fight on? I would fight on the side that would lead to the least social injustice. Black Lives Matter movement's a good one.
Okay, and if there was something that was between white and non-white people, what side would you fight on?
White and non-white people, the non-white people.
And to what capacity?
Fully.
You would be willing to risk your life?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, thank you for sticking with us, Mr. Steven. Been very insightful.
Thank you.
I believe that there's only one race, the white race, because that is the only group of people who maintain the system. I do believe that racism is some sort of war that white people are waging against non-white people in all 9 areas of people activity. Would you agree that racism is a war?
Yes, it certainly is a war.
All right, and what should non-white people be doing in this war?
I think that is a very complicated question because I love the idea of the peaceful approach. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, great people, fucking idols. But, you know, you could keep that fight going for as long as you can. And maybe small battles will be won, but the war wouldn't be. I think when you're not heard long enough, there is necessity to, push the bar a bit further. Like, I think to like certain degrees, like, I think peaceful protesting is great. I think protesting is great, even if it's not peaceful to certain measures. I think rioting is even necessary to certain measures, ideally without people getting hurt. Material is material. That shit can come and go. So sorry, can you repeat so I can continue to?
Oh yeah, I'm saying what should non-white people be doing in this war?
I think the most important thing is to inform. And the problem with that is people will label things as false information or, like fake news. So the best way you can help is by helping your immediate area. And as a non-white person, if your immediate area isn't around white people, you gotta meet white people. And there's that saying that's like you get more, I think it's like you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar or something. It's a shitty thing that does have a truth to it, but like get people to understand that you're a person with needs and understanding, and you can kind of get, like, to a degree, certain similarities. Like, fuck, if you like Nintendo Switch, talk about Nintendo Switch with somebody of the other race. If you both think fucking root beer tastes disgusting, understand that. Like, I don't know, like, I think deflation is really good, but if you keep deflating and there's a certain, group in power like white people are, then the real needs will not be met. So those have to be. It's such a hard question to answer. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. I think you're doing fine.
I think it's just similarities. You have to understand that your similarities go beyond just the tone of your skin. Like, I don't know. It's something important to find with others.
Dr. Senku?
Yes. This is Stephen, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, excellent. Admitted racist Tim Wise and admitted racist Jane Elliott have both said that non-white people should view all white people as racist. Do you agree with them?
No, I certainly do not.
Why?
I can't really hear you, but I think you asked me why.
Correct.
Okay, why? Because I don't think all white people are racist. I think generalizing and doing blanket statements are a dangerous thing to do. Blanket statements will group people that aren't in the same group as others, and that creates a misunderstanding of each other. Treating each people as an individual, it's harder to do for sure, but you're not cutting corners. You don't cut edges when you kind of get to actually learn and understand people on their own personal level. And unfortunately, you're going to come across a lot of shitheads that way, but you'll find a few gems in there.
Okay. The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept says that any white person.
Wait, Dr. Senku, you think you get closer to your mic? Because it was good before, but now it sounds like something has changed.
Interesting. Can you hear me better now?
We could hear you. It's just like you sound like you're far away or muffled. It sounds like you're going through a different audio input device.
Oh wow! How about now?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Same thing?
Yeah, we can manage though, I believe.
I think so.
Wow, I'm using the same thing. I'm using the same mic that I've been using on my phone.
It's better now.
The next question then is, so the code, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept says that any white person who is able to practice racism should be viewed as a racist suspect. Do you agree with that?
Sure. I think it's good to be suspicious of people. Don't just trust them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you be okay if you were non-white?
What do you mean? Like physically? I don't know. I could be in danger if I wasn't white. That's the fucked up world we're in. Do I feel like that is tough? I think that there's certain circumstances like of upbringing. Like I have a friend, Michael Callahan. He's Black. He was adopted. He's on the pretty far conservative side, and he doesn't see anything wrong with race matters in the world and stuff. That I don't think is okay, but I think he feels like he has been pretty accepted amongst his community. Does that mean he's in a safe situation? No. Yes, I'm not sure. I'm not him. I think that has a lot to do with my environment that I'm in, and speaking about, global and kind of country-based matters. I think that it's typically not as safe of an environment for minorities, non-white people, as it is for white people. So I think there would be some degree less security.
Dang. This is my follow-up question that that foreign into your answer, because I think that's really interesting. So and the counter racist logic, it suggested that white people do not adopt Black children because that will often lead to the offspring being more confused and more victimized under the system of racism and white supremacy. Do you think it's correct for white people to adopt Black children?
Wouldn't say it's correct. I wouldn't say it's incorrect. I'd say you meet the kid, you like them, or you don't like them. I don't know, whatever, like each person could have their own motivation for adopting, as long as it's not for like some sort of like indirect gain other than you want to raise a child because you love them and you want to give them a home. I think I would say it's probably better, honestly, to adopt out of your own race personally. The reason why is just because, like I said, the whole thing coming back to like a matter of blinders and not understanding, other races. It's important to understand other races, and say you just throwing it out there, you're a Hispanic child adopted by an Asian couple, and people start questioning you as a kid, why don't you look like your parents? That will make the kid be a more inquisitive human being. And I'd say typically in most cases, if a parent is adopting, that probably means they're trying to do something for the better, and they'll probably try to do their best to inform their adopted child with a pretty reasonable answer. And, that kid would then be more informed and then be able to inform more people and hopefully remain inquisitive in the process.
Okay, this is a two-parter. What do white people like about non-white people, and what do white people dislike about non-white people?
Diversity and diversity.
So they can you elaborate?
Speaking personally, I like diversity because there's more you could learn. There's more interesting things.
I think there may be a little bit of confusion in my question. So the question was, what do white people like about non-white people, and what do white people dislike about non-white people?
I'd say it's the same thing. I can't speak for everybody. I could speak for myself. As a white person, I like that other races and cultures can teach me something that I didn't grow up with and know. I like that diversity. And then what I'd say personally, what I don't like is I don't like that, for example, I may not have the same experiences and I not be able to understand, I suppose. And I don't know. I wouldn't say I trend towards the dislike, but I'd say it's just all a matter of.
So warn your friends and family when they come here about that. They just started giving out them. I never seen them for anything.
Somebody needed me too.
So another question is I just lost me, but it'll come back. I saw Carissa's hand.
Yeah.
Hi, I wanted to ask the question. It's Steve, right? Steven?
Yes, you got it.
Okay. Have you ever made a promise to a non-white person that you did not keep?
For sure I have. Like made a promise to a non-white person I did not keep. Do I know what I'm talking about specifically? No, I'm just, unfortunately, I've broken promises.
All right.
I'll think about that one a bit more, see if I can get back to you specifically, though.
Okay, my thought came back to my, thank you for the question, Carice. Mrs. Singleton, I'm asking you to speak on behalf of all white people. Imagine you're on like a committee and like you were the white man chosen to represent all white people. So And I need you to answer the question again, as if you're speaking on behalf of all white people. Like when I'm speaking, I'm speaking on behalf of all non-white people because I am a non-white person who wants justice, and you are speaking on behalf of all non-white people who may want justice or may want to continue practicing racism and white supremacy. I don't know yet. But the question again, and keep in mind, we're on this committee. You're representing all the thoughts of all non-white people that you can gather. What do white people like about non-white people, and what don't they like about non-white people?
What do white people like about non-white people? And what do white people dislike about non-white people? It's a very broad question. White people dislike about, okay, I'm speaking on behalf of all white people. What do white people dislike about non-white people? What do white people like about non-white people? Huh.
You be as brutally honest.
No, I'm honestly trying to just process it. Like that's a lot. I'm being honest right now with my. I'm not a good speaker for the white people. Just white people dislike that they're not white, and they like, I don't know, the diversity. They like that they're, I don't know, individual members of society that provide and work, are members of society. I don't know. That's a tough question. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I think this just like kind of goes against just my general point of view. I don't know if you guys have noticed it so far, but drawing a sheet over everybody is just such a dangerous and wrong thing to do. I don't like. I don't know. That's my answer. It's just don't do that. Don't dislike or like everybody for being a part of a populace. That's my answer.
Yeah, so it's okay if you're not able to answer the question.
Yeah, that's the best I can, I suppose.
So you're still on the same committee, and I want you to answer on behalf of the white people. Why do white people continue to practice racism instead of producing justice? Like,
oh, why do they do it? Because they're afraid and uninformed. They can act like it's information, but it's just from like turmoil from the past that puts fucking people in a shitty place. I mean, and if you keep that up, then those, people that are taking the shit are going to continue to be taking it, Just don't live in a life of fear. That's it. I think acceptance and opening is the right here.
Are you suggesting that the majority of white people live in fear? Fear of what, if so?
I agree. Yeah, I would say that's it. It's a primary case of fear, of not knowing, of losing their material and power and security, and because of like the system that this country, I'm just going to speak for America, like that this has been built on. It's like, you know, if somebody, it's all like a give and take sort of system. It's a seesaw, or like sort of like a balancing scale. So if you have a certain percentage or demographic in, you know, upper, middle, working, and like just poor classes, if those upper classes are primarily made up of white people, a lot of white people are going to be, you know, afraid of losing that position. And that's, I think, the fear is, and more so on a scale of like a matter of skin, which I think it is certainly a matter of skin. I think just a lot of people want their personal security, and that they find that their security is better maintained when they're surrounded by more people that are of their, you know, same, you know, thread, if that makes sense. So I think that you break through that, you know, skin tone, you know, realize that that's not what separates us, then, you know, probably be better off, because ultimately I think that's just going to end up in the gain for everybody. That fear is a large factor in holding people back and becoming better over the future.
Hey, 0526, can I ask a question, or you got more?
Please do.
Stephen, I wanted to know, now I could have misheard you. I might have gotten confused with the with you and David. Did you say that you were Jewish?
I don't think David's in the lobby anymore.
But okay,
he did say he was Jewish.
David said he was Jewish, yes. Not you.
No, I'm not Jewish. I come from a Catholic background.
Okay, so correct. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a practicing Catholic. So I have no problem with religion. Well, I have some problems with religion, but that's a different topic.
Oh, I got another question.
Sure.
Could you tell me what a race is?
So race is a matter of ethnicity is national origin. Race is just what skin tone you have, right? Like, what is the color of your skin? That's what I thought race was.
Okay, I don't know, because I don't consider myself of a race, being a part of a race.
I think that's a smart way to take it, man.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, because I heard you mention it, and so I was I wanted to know what your definition of it was, because it appears to me that you know, the root word to racism is race.
Yep.
And
wouldn't it be nice if we could just get rid of that term? You know, like, wouldn't it be nice if we could just like kind of go back? Science is great and all, like system of labeling, but then once you go too far in labeling, you know, it kind of like just creates more muck and confusion, and, you know, like, oh, there are differences between these two things, right? And race is one of those things that I think was created as a label and never had a proper place in its, you know, in the world.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be nice, but it'd definitely be just if we had a system of justice, meaning that, you know, balance between people, guaranteeing that no one is mistreated.
Yeah. Like having forms or something we could fill out that don't say like, hey, what's your background? Like ethnic background or something. That'd be a nice, like, small sort of, you know, drop in the pot.
Well, yeah, my definition of racism is that it's a person chooses to mistreat someone based on skin color.
Mhm.
So I don't think they need to know your background. But I mean, I'm still learning. So maybe you can elaborate on that.
Elaborating on just people being, having
People
to go up
practicing racism. People practicing racism based on a person's background. Can you give an example of that?
Well, I just mean background as in like, when you're filling out an application for a job or something, you could be doing it online. People don't even know who you are. And before they get to meet you, you send in your application and doing so, be like, what is your race? And then you fill in Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, one of those sorts of origins. I think like those are quick ways to set up prejudices of people that might not be in the position to make sound mind decisions.
Okay.
Like I've heard of certain things in the past where like you could have a guy named David and another guy named Hakeem applying for the same job. They won't even look at the guy named Hakeem's like application simply because of his name, like shit like that. Like how to solve that, I don't know, but it's a thing.
I see. And I do have another question. It's about your profile pic.
Yes.
Is that Socrates underneath Samuel L. Jackson's face?
I think it is. I do believe it is.
Okay. And what is your intentions of what are you attempting to communicate by putting Samuel L. Jackson on Socrates? I see how it blends in there. I can see
right
how you set it up so that his eyes match up.
I did not make this picture. I think Trayshawn and Swashawn could have or Trayshawn and sorry, you want to go by 0526. I just like the composition. I have like an art background, and I just kind of just loved how well it kind of rolled over into each other. So I just thought it was a cool picture. Nothing more beyond that. I do love philosophy, and I do love Pulp Fiction. So that's why that's my picture. Not much thought put into it.
Okay, thank you.
Big Kahuna Burger.
All righty. Mr. Steven, how would you describe the relationship between white people and non-white people?
Hostile at the moment. And also collaborative, but primarily hostile. I'm living in a sort of more urbanized place. I think LA, even though it has its problems with race, is relatively tame compared to like more like Central American sort of spaces where there isn't as much diversity of races, demographic differences. So I'd say it's, for the most part, it's pretty polarized.
Do you suspect that white people are ignorant about the system of racism, white supremacy, what it is, and how it works?
I'd say so in a lot of ways, yeah.
And what?
Sorry. In what ways?
Yeah, in what ways are they ignorant?
They're ignorant because some white people genuinely think they're better literally because of their skin tone, and they think that they're entitled to something and like have a sort of like birthright because just the fucking tone of their skin. I think that drives really deep. I mean, like that joke that Lilia told earlier, just with the whole matter of like Jesus is white, Jesus is black. I think like a lot of white people like, oh, Jesus was white, so he's, I'm more in tune to the way God intended people to look crap. And like, I think it's just like history with religion, and like, I think just history and religion, you know, it's just our past is what makes us. And unfortunately, our past has a lot of unjust to it. But with that, I think that the word white supremacy is either just non-existent in a lot of white people, or it's a birthright. It is like an actual thing that they genuinely believe. And then there are others that just do see it for what it is, as a farce. It's like, it's bullshit. I don't have numbers on like where those line up with white people, but as far as like, I'd say, you know, pollings go, if like you could have somebody like Trump run for president of the nation, and you have about almost 50% of the people like voting in his, you know, let's just go first election, you have a majority of the United States nation voting for him, right? And I'd say like the US is approximately 70% white people. I'm pretty sure minorities, for the most part, are not voting for that man. So that means that you have approximately, you have of that 70%, 50% of that 70 are, for the most part, white people, right? So that means you have, let's just kind of flatten the numbers out a bit. That means you would have 100 million white people to 40 million white people. And this is also simplifying the equation. Obviously, if you're conservative doesn't mean you're automatically racist. And obviously, if you're liberal doesn't mean you're automatically not racist. But it just, those numbers do have, like, conservative and liberal typically do have some correlation to, you know, that background. I'm not going to say it applies to everybody, but there's a clear sign showing that there's an issue there. I think that's a very clear statistical way to look at, you know, how it is, how prominent it is within the white community of people. I'd say more white people, more than not, white people certainly in this country at least do have sort of racial prejudices. And don't intend to improve on it. But, you know, hopefully the future can change that. And the present can change that for our future.
Thank you for all this information, Mr. Steven. One of my final questions is how will yourself and other white people change your thought, speech, and action to produce justice? And when I say justice, I'm referring to this definition on the screen here. Have you been able to read this?
Justice, I'll read it right now.
Okay. This is what the purpose of this group is. We're just trying to get this system of justice established, and we are going to need white people to help create this, to help establish this system of justice. So once you read it, can you let me know if this is something you could agree with?
Yeah, I agree with it. I finished reading it. I think you guys having white guests is a great thing to do. I think this is awesome. I certainly broadened my horizon for being on this. Being proactive about it, you know, don't stay quiet. I still do agree with peacefully assembling. But, you know, if there's, you know, fucked up things going on, like, you know, lists of reasons why Black people are getting shot and other minorities, you know, like, you can't just kind of peacefully sit aside. show up, protest. If you're white, it's important for you to show up. Don't just let minorities stand up for themselves. You have to be there too for them. There's a reason why they're a minority, right? They don't have the numbers, you know, and if you don't help show up with the minority, then they'll never have the numbers. And I think it's important to support that so justice can be met.
So your answer was that white people, in order to change, so my question was, how will white people change their thought, speech, and action to produce justice? I don't know if that would necessarily.
That didn't answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
How can they do that? By listening to minorities, by having people like having resources, you know, like powerful and reaching out and having it like accessible, you know, like if Maya Angelou has something to say, you know, it should be very attainable. It shouldn't be hidden behind a plethora of political bullshit. Media, and we're in the information era. Media is how we get our information. So it's like, I think TikTok is very strong right now, and you know, Snapchat and Instagram stories are real strong way to spread word. You know, people shouldn't just use those platforms for goofing around, which I think they should still certainly be used for a lot of goofing around, but they should also be used to spread messages. I think for white people to change their mind, they need to they're gonna kind of have to be force fed it, you know, at first, at least, until, you know, the taste kind of sits in and they understand it's a good taste of like fighting against injustices. Spreading, yeah, so just spreading word to other members of the white community from white community members.
What do you think is the best and like surefire way that non-white people can get white people to get on board with producing justice? Like, what's the one thing that we can do, if anything, to get white people on board with producing justice?
God damn it, I'm such an idiot.
Well, no, you're a white person, so I don't think.
No. You want to know Taco Tuesday? That's why I say I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking clown. The best way is to talk to your white friends, like you're talking to me, and I can reach out to white people and talk to them and try to get them to actively participate. I can't force feed them, you know, I can't make the horse go to water, but the best thing I could do is talk to them and, you know, make a white friend, I suppose, you know, is the best thing that minorities could do, is, you know, just try to find the not shitty ones, and then the not shitty ones might know somebody that's like mediocrely shitty, and then they could change that mediocrely shitty human into a not shitty one, and then they could continue that process, you know.
Definitely. I really like you're part of the answer that involves you going and talking to other white people about the problem, because that is one way that we will that must happen for us to solve the problem. White people must go out and just how us non-whites go out and take endless mistreatment and hell for attempting to produce justice, white people must go out and tell their white people that we need to get serious about producing justice, because justice would be better than the current system that we have.
Absolutely. Do you have any ideas for me on how to do that? Very, like, be a better contributing member of this? I mean, I can go and talk to my friends, and I think that's the best way I could do it, which I have done some. And then it's, you know, I think for a lot of the cases, I mean, it just becomes like kind of a complacent topic. Any advice for me?
Well, you now have this definition of justice. This is what the goal is. So yeah, we have yet to get white people to produce justice. So we really don't, I personally don't know how, but I do know being willing and able to take the mistreatment and the disappointment, disapproval, and discomfort that will come from trying to produce justice, being able to withstand that, understanding that producing justice is like an assignment for not only non-white people, for white people. Hopefully that is enough to keep you encouraged to find a white person and tell them that, hey, we need to be about producing justice. We need to change our thought, speech, and behavior. We need to tell the truth. We need to literally tell the truth about how the system operates. And hopefully you tell enough white people that it could get enough non-white people and more white people to get on board, because we're currently having there's very, very, very few non-white people who are attempting to produce justice. I've heard you use the word minority quite a bit, and just given the facts of planet Earth, non-white people are the global majority, meaning there's more non-white people than white people. But the system of white supremacy has made us minors in the fact that we are all treated and trained to act like children. So we are minorities in that case, but we definitely have more numbers. We just don't have any.
You certainly do. I'm referring kind of to the American situation.
Understood.
I do, yeah.
And again, I am a victim, so I don't know if my advice is even helpful. I just know that bare minimum, talking to white people and just seeing for yourself, you know, you are a white person who was able to come to something like this. A lot of white people are really, really indifferent and talking about the race problem.
Is it better for me to not use the term minority?
Yeah, I would say it's more correct for you to not use that term unless you're referring to the fact that the system of white supremacy has made all non-white people children. Is this a fact that you can agree with while we're on the subject? Does that make sense? Does that make sense that we have become children due to white supremacy, all non-white people?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Does the system of white supremacy train and make non-white people children, being as we're childlike in behavior? Is this something you've observed?
Honestly, no, I haven't thought of it that way, but I can definitely see how that can be a correlation. So yeah, I get it. That makes sense.
Alrighty. Yeah. And one of my final questions is given the fact that we are treated like children, we are trained to behave like children by this system, do you think it's correct for an adult, which is a white person, to have a sexual relationship with a non-white person who was functioning as a child? Do you think that's an appropriate relationship to have in 2021?
If you're talking about like a mental state, I don't think non-white people are functioning like adults function as children. I do not see it that way, but I do see how putting terms such as like minority could do that. I do think that white people and non-white people can have interracial relationships.
And what is correct about that?
Love.
And how does love exist in a system of justice? Because according to logic, we like to see love as meaning justice. Love and justice are the same thing, and currently there is no justice on the planet. So how can there be love on the planet?
I don't see them as the same thing. But I do think that once again, it could be brought to a matter of individual matters. So if you have white people going out and seeing non-white people as equals and participating in their action to, better even the ground and have equality, then I don't see a problem with inter-race relation. People can love other people regardless of their skin tone. I think that's the important thing to do and work for. And, I think that's an incredibly powerful thing if people could see past their skin and love each other regardless.
All right, okay. Do you think if non-white people said, hey, white people, we're no longer gonna have relationships with you, we're no longer gonna talk to you unless it's about the race problem and solving it, and until you produce justice, do you think that will motivate white people to produce justice if we as non-white people decided to no longer sexually engage with white people because it's currently incorrect under this system?
I disagree with parts of that, and I think that if there is a complete disengagement, that would just create more discord personally. So no, I do not think that would be productive.
Understood.
That's fine though. I mean, if people choose to do that, that's fine. But I don't think that would be, if somebody chooses to do that personally, because that's how they feel, that's not a problem. If it becomes a whole and it's just basically a law that people all adhere to, that just creates more segregation. And segregation has been shown to be a very bad thing in the past. And ideally, we don't want people to be segregated. We want everybody to be equal and together.
Thank you for these answers.
Yeah.
So my this is my final question. I want you to think, you and our late arrival guest, Mr. Barron, I want you to think really hard on this question, and please go into detail. I need as much help from you guys involving the subject, but how can we as non-white people, how can we tell when a white person is practicing racism? What are some things that they say or do that we be able to say, hey, this person is, I suspect this person is practicing racism. So what are some telltale signs?
Well, for right off the bat, if they say anything about your skin, you're too dark, you shouldn't be around here, anything like that, obviously they're racist, and then maybe more subtle things like being mean to you for no reason, you know, if you just walk up to them and like, you know, they take a long look at your skin color and then they just like give you a salty, like they give you a salty aura, then you know that they might be racist. Oh, and then also if they make like lots of really like racially insensitive comments and like jokes. Like if they just start like bringing up stereotypes and all that business, you know, you probably got a racist on your hands.
Is there anything else? Because there's racist suspects that are easier to pinpoint, but then there's the more refined racists who.
Yeah, you got sneaky ones, man. You got sneaky ones. You got to be around them for a minute, you know, to be able to tell if they're really on your side. At that point, you just got to be around them for a long time, you know. And then if they're legit, you know, they wouldn't have slipped. But if, you know, if they're a suspect, they would have slipped a couple times, you know.
Yeah, and what are some indications that they've slipped? Like, what are some things that they say or do?
Oh, you know, just like if they're like, you know, like, you know, white people are really smarter than black people or something like that, right? Then, you know, like, then you're like, wait, what? How long have you been holding that belief in for, you know? And then like, if they're like, if they just start talking about like, if they start giving you like they'll give you maybe little cookie crumbs like, you know, Trump, he's such an amazing president, or, you know, the police really don't do anything wrong, you know, like little breadcrumbs, little breadcrumb trail. And then eventually, if you stick around for long enough, you might hit the mother lode, and they might say something like totally just like, hey, do you know I'm really in the KKK or something like that, you know? Maybe not that, but you might strike big, you know, sooner or later.
Thank you. Mr. Steven, would you like to?
Sure thing.
I mean, that's pretty on point. You could look for the small remarks, and that salty look is a good way of vindicating.
Totally.
It's like you could totally pick up vibes from people, right?
Also, if they're like,
just
go for it.
No, it sounds like you had something on your mind.
Yeah, if they're only hanging around, like say they're around like 9 white people, right? And you're like totally normal and everything. You're like, yo, can I hang out? And they're like, sorry, only white people can hang out with me. Like, you know, someone, they got some racist beliefs in them.
Mr. Steven?
Yeah, that sounds pretty on point. You know, just like if just white people only hanging out with white people, they can't have any friends in like non-white groups. That's a clear-cut sign, like they have a problem.
Yeah, these are unfortunately are signs I already know, but if more come to mind, please let me know. I see Kweku has a hand raised.
Yeah, my question was about love. So can we agree that justice, which is balance between all people, does not exist on the planet?
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's why we're here in the first place, right? Like, I hold the belief that we're all born here. Oh, what's up?
Okay, thank you. Just want to keep the answers concise. Thank you for your answers.
Oh yeah.
My follow-up question to that is, so if
sorry, my mic clipped out for a bit. I lost my power source and it came back.
Oh, no problem. I haven't said much. So if justice doesn't exist on the planet, how can love exist on the planet when you do not have balance between people?
Well, I believe love precedes justice. Like, love is the kernel for justice. I believe you can't have a cold justice system that leads to love. I believe love is like that's what made us want to create these justice systems in the first place, to make sure our loved ones and our kind ones are protected. Unfortunately, it's just gotten out of hands with, you know, all this racism and all these, you know, biases that are not productive for society.
I think using that love as a kernel to justice, that's actually a really kind of good way of putting it. I think the love should precede it.
Okay,
like been,
so you're saying love precedes justice, which is balance between all people. So you're saying, so you're able to love people without there being balance between each other? I just, for example, somebody in a greater position of a power is, and somebody in a lesser position of power, are they able to love that person? Are they able to love each other?
I mean, the person with the greater position of power, because of like social norms, they can't be abusing it, and they have to understand it's wrong. I think then that enables the possibility of love. But then you have the asshole that does, you know, like, fuck, no, you can't love that person.
Yeah. I think, you know, I really love your definition of justice as being like balance between people, because really, when you think about it, like, balance is the key. You know, that's what the Buddha said anyway. Now I think we need to look closely at two quote unquote justice systems. We have the you know, most, like, I believe, intelligent way of defining justice, balance between people. And we have another definition of justice that society tends to abide by, and it's just all these arbitrary rules written in books that are enforced by the police and the courts and the prison system. And so I you know, I think actually calling that second form of whatever justice is a misnomer. That's just bureaucracy. I believe love and true justice go hand in hand always. They're inseparable and are meant to be applied to this thing that we call the justice system in this country.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to bring your attention to the third paragraph right here on the screen, where it says laws do not necessarily produce justice. A law is anything that is done if what is done does not produce justice. You could read that, but I think that is in line with what you were saying, Anthony, about laws. So I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. If anyone wants to ask a follow-up question.
Great questions.
Yeah, we're approaching the 3-hour mark with our guest, Mr. Steven. Definitely don't want to. Truly grateful for the amount of time you've spent here with us, Mr. Singleton.
Wow, you've been here.
Yeah, so I
like what Anthony's saying, man. This is insightful, and these questions are too.
Yeah,
I'm glad you. Thanks.
I'm definitely running low on my questions, and I don't see any more hands raised. So
I wanted to ask a question to Mr. Anthony, because I know he's
I'm fresh.
And
yeah.
I wanted to ask your experiences and higher education. Have you witnessed any actually, let me simplify it. Have you seen non-white people being mistreated? If so, what happened? What was your response?
First of all, I just want to say your profile picture is really cool. That piece of art. Second thing I want to say is off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone, but there's a catch. I go to Stanford, hardly any people, like hardly any minorities go to Stanford. So I hardly even see minorities in the first place. You know, any kind of like just running into a minority is like, whoa, that's like rare, you know. And then running into a minority who happens to be like,
can we just to clear up confusion, can you replace minority with non-white, because we just had a discussion about that word.
Oh, okay. Thanks for catching me up, 05. I don't want to sound like uninformed here. So yeah, like non-white. Yeah, so no, but it's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean there's an injustice in place. Because I think there should be more non-white people at Stanford.
All right, Mr. Anthony, have you seen this happen outside of education, just anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I see it through the media a lot, unfortunately. And I mean, I feel like that's enough. Like, you know, just even seeing a video of something so terrible like what happened to George Floyd is like, you know, makes you want to do something.
Have you ever witnessed something firsthand?
Let me think about that, because that's a really good question. Firsthand. Well, I mean, not blatant. Like someone, like I have never seen a white person call, you know, a non-white person the N-word, like in person. But I do see, you know, structural injustices all the time. You know, whenever I walk around the city, most of the people that I see on the streets are non-white people, or a lot of them. And there are a lot of structural things that need to be like done in order to improve the system that we're in, to prevent people from landing on the streets in the first place like that.
I have a couple more questions for you. Do you have grandparents, or did you have a relationship with your grandparents?
I did, fortunately. I'm very grateful.
Have your grandparents or your parents ever talked to you about non-white people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
what do they say?
What do they say? I mean, all sorts of things. Honestly, depends on the person. Like for example, my dad loves music, specifically jazz. One artist that he really likes is what's his name? Wes Montgomery. Wes Montgomery plays amazing guitar. So he's like, you know, Wes Montgomery is great. He overcame, you know, oppression, made it financially. You know, very resilient guy. And then like there's this non-white person who I remember he was walking around the city, and this dude threw a brick at his chest for no reason. He was just mad or something. And he was a black dude, and my dad wasn't really happy about that, so he doesn't hold him in a positive light, really. So it really just depends on how the person interacted with him.
Thanks for answering the questions.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Who is most to blame for the system of racism and white supremacy and all of the damage and mistreatment, death, and destruction it causes?
Wow. Well, really good question. Shoot, it's a big one too. Well, obviously, white supremacy by definition is white people mistreating non-white people. So first comes to mind white people. And then now I have to be mindful here because I'm a white person and I don't want I don't want to have to like dish out money or whatever, because, you know, I personally have never owned slaves, but I do believe people who, and neither did any of my ancestors, but I do believe white people whose ancestors did profit from slavery should be responsible to pay reparations, because they're in a good financial position right now, right? Because of business that was modeled around slavery. So anyway, and then
that's
who
really
else is
interesting.
there? Yeah, I mean, who else is there? Like, honestly, I believe that, again, every single one of us was born on planet Earth for a reason, to in some way make planet Earth better. And racism and white supremacy are very, very, very strong institutions of mind, even physical institutions on Earth. And every single human being on Earth with the mental capacity to comprehend justice, equality, and love should feel some sort of obligation to overcome it. And every single person should be acting in some capacity in that way.
Is there any advice you could give a non-white person when they're dealing with white people?
Yes. No matter what, never give up your cultural roots. Don't give up being who you are just because of the people you're around. If you're around a white person and you feel inclined to like be polite or extra professional, whatever that even means, don't. Be you. Be kind, be funny, be quirky, be whatever. Don't change who you are because of who you're around. Be your honest self. I try to always be my honest self. And you know what? Sometimes it's rocky because the people I'm around expect me. For example, in school, I like to be funny, right? I like to be casual. Some people don't like that. They're like, yo, you gotta act more studiously, right? I don't care because I feel the best when I feel like I am expressing myself as a whole, from the bottom of my heart, nothing held back. So no matter what, do not give up on being you, because you're awesome. No matter what any institution says, you are otherwise.
Mr. Steven, would you like to answer?
Yeah, that's shit. I mean, that's a great way to see it. Just really being yourself and not having to change for others is a great approach. Conforming to the way other people's want you to be, it creates like some ledge of dishonesty. And I think, people can catch on to that. And, when you have a base off of a level of dishonesty, like, then who knows, like, what fucking people are going to throw at you next. So, I mean, I don't think I can put it in better words, to be honest. It's a pretty good answer.
Thank you.
Oh, all righty. Thank you for all the questions. Participants, and thank you for all the answers. From our guests.
Last question. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, please.
My very last question, I promise. It's a good closer. My last question is, how can non-white people help white people to end racism, white supremacy?
Just be kind and understanding, and also keep us in check. Keep us in check. If you see a white person who's like making all these insensitive jokes and you know that they're racist, stick up for yourself. Go like, hey, what you're saying is not cool. And, there's a lot of, you're getting into a really big spider web, if you really keep that mindset up, and keep people in check, man. Stand up for yourself. And then also just, be understanding too. Be kind. Be like, hey, I understand that there's this huge system of white supremacy. It's made up of many minds, not just one. So to ask you to individually overcome all these like shackles really that have tied you to fulfilling a stereotype that like perpetuates these biases, you know, understand that it takes a little bit of time to unlock the chains. But, you know, help them with unlocking the chains, make sure that they want to unlock the chains. And yeah, and ultimately remember that we're all the same and we're all human and we all have hearts.
Yeah, just, you know, keep all those around you informed as best as you can. You know, teach them about yourself. That's the best place to start because that's what you're most knowledgeable about. When you do stuff like that, I mean, they can either accept you or not, and you can't force people to change. But, you know, people can understand where you're coming from, and hopefully you come across those that really do get it and can empathize with, you know, the circumstances that non-white people have gone through. Then, you know, maybe you change one at a time, but that's still, you know, working towards a better way of thinking as a whole in the world that we're living in. So, you know, I have personally been scorned in the past with, like, you know, being my honest self and what Anthony was saying. But he does say something about just like kind of being yourself. It feels really good to be able to do something like that. And if people can't accept you for that way, I mean, unfortunately, there's just those people out there. And, you know, finding those individuals that do get that and are able to, you know, broaden their minds and, you know, help work for this, you know, this that we want, and, you know, hopefully that push that, you know, you make can help, you know, shift the tides. And I think that goes for white people as well, trying to push in that direction as well.
Okay, thank you. So to just clarify, summarize, are you saying that non-white people need to tell white people what to do?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's doing something stupid, tell them, yo, you're doing something stupid, do the right thing, don't be a dummy. And then the other thing is like educate. I wanted to add that to my list of things to do. Educate us, like how you're doing now, about like what it feels like to be Black, you know, about the history of slavery. Because let me tell you, coming from the average white person, we learn about it. We learn as much in the history classes as you do. I hardly know a thing about slavery. So, or like the struggles that, you know, because I read the same textbooks, like they hardly mention, you know, anything. And like, I don't, because to be honest, I'm not Black. So it's like not necessarily my direct interest to like look up the history of slavery or like, you know, to try to learn more about my ancestry, because my ancestry is different. But like, you know, obviously, you know a lot more. So teach me. If it feels like, you know, y'all have nothing really to talk about, or there's just like, you know, y'all are just trying to kill time, like start talking a little history, you know, like instill some empathy in your white friend, so that they also recognize the white privilege that they have. When I realized like the white privilege that I have, it made me actually even more open-minded to trying to level the field. Yeah, I don't want to ramble.
Okay, I have to do something, a pressing matter. So I really.
Hold on, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you want to further your clarification? Go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to say. I'm done. Thank you for your answers, your honest answers, everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for having us around.
Yeah, very constructive panel. Definitely learned quite a bit. Thank you. I hope if you do this again, you will be able to participate. Thank you, especially Mr. Singleton, for sticking with us for as long as you.
Definitely a trooper.
Super
happy to, man. this is very informative. I think this is a good step, and I'm definitely happy to be back, even if I'm not like an active participant on the panel. I have to say, like, the voices here, and both on the panel and people asking questions. I mean, it's been a ride, and it's one I've really enjoyed, and there needs to be more like this.
Yeah, Miss Williams just left a really nice comment. And by the way, I am so happy that y'all seems like had a really constructive time without me. So I'm glad y'all were able to have some good conversations before I came. Miss Williams said something about thank you to all the panel. Thank you so much, Miss Williams. We really appreciate your comments, and absolutely agree. We need more justice, period, and balance.
All righty. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna end it there. I truly appreciate the questions and answers. I'm gonna let everyone enjoy the rest of their night.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for putting us together.
No problem.
Good night, everyone. Take it easy.
Good night.
Don't forget to love.
All right, Steven, I'll talk to you in a non-business meeting soon so we can catch up. Peace.
Sounds good. Yeah. Have a good one.